The tropical rainforests of Central America are warm, dark, and very, very wet. There's little variation in temperature between day and night, or in fact throughout the year. Plants compete so fiercely for the fugitive light that most trees spread their leaves 30 meters above the forest floor. They're so effective at gathering the sun's rays that 90% of the available sunlight never reaches the ground. But the animals that dominate the night are very different from those that are active during the dark forest days. The creatures that live in these forests inhabit a twilight world where as much rain may fall in an hour as some countries may see in a whole year. During the wettest months, so much rain falls that many species of frog lay their eggs on the constantly sodden surface of leaves, where the tadpoles spend the early part of their development until they're eventually washed off into the rising swamp below. Most forest plants have large, broad leaves to gather what little light reaches them. They're usually ribbed and pointed to shed the rain quickly, otherwise they'll break under its weight. Many animals take advantage of the leaves' size and use them for shelter. White tent-making bats chew along the mid-rib of the heliconia leaf. The leaf collapses, forming an effective tent under which the small colony can shelter from the rain. They'll use the leaf for 2 or 3 weeks, leaving each night to hunt for fruit. These caterpillars shelter in the same way, staying close together to appear larger and less edible to small predators. The hummingbird has no option but to sit it out on her tiny egg cup-sized nest. As the clouds begin to break up, a group of tree frogs gather in the reeds to spawn, triggered by the respite from the rain. The males call to attract the females, who always appear to be in short supply. The majority of frogs are active at night, and when night comes, these forest pools will ring to the chorus of a dozen or more species, eager to breed in the warm, shallow waters. The brief afternoon sunshine adds a sparkle to the beetles' green iridescence. Just one of countless thousands of species of insects that inhabit this, the richest terrestrial ecosystem on Earth. There are over 1,000 species of birds in these humid forests, and nearly 100 species of bats, including a second tent-making species. Like its tiny white cousins, Euroderma also chooses heliconia leaves to protect it from the rain during the long, damp days. Rivers and streams rise and fall dramatically as the rains rapidly drain away. 2 meters of rain may fall in a year, over 3 times the average for North America or Europe. From the air, the rainforest appears as a shaggy green blanket covering the hills and valleys. But this apparent uniformity is deceptive. Unlike the fir or beech forests of temperate zones, where only one species of tree dominates, here there may be as many as 250 species of trees per hectare. They remain green throughout the year, continuously shedding and growing leaves. Many can flower at any time, and some produce blossoms all the year round. The upper branches and trunks play host to other plants, epiphytic species such as ferns, orchids and bromeliads, which would not survive on the forest floor. They rely on the host tree for access to sunlight, but they're certainly not parasitic. All the water and nutrients they require is washed down from above by the rains. They don't feed on the tree itself. These hanging gardens of the treetops provide a habitat for a variety of creatures, some of which are never seen on the ground. The diversity of flower, shape and colour is staggering, especially among the orchids. The majority of rainforest flowers are pollinated by insects, birds or bats, and many also rely on animals for seed dispersal. Berries are eaten by birds, such as the emerald toucanet, raising its chicks within the safety of an old woodpecker hole. It feeds its chicks mainly insects, but fruits and berries are a major part of the adult's diet, along with small reptiles and nestling birds. Most of the seeds eaten by the bird pass through its body unchanged and are eventually scattered over the forest floor. Seed dispersers can come in many guises. The formidable-looking green iguana is the largest lizard in the rainforest. It can reach a length of almost 2 meters. Despite its appearance, it's almost entirely herbivorous. It spends the day basking high up on exposed branches in the warmth of the sun. The crested males are constantly on the alert for rival males and large birds of prey. His attention is caught by a chestnut-mandibled toucan, but it doesn't pose a threat to the reptile. Nor does the keel-billed toucan. Both of these birds feed on fruits and smaller animals. No one knows why they have such a large beak. It's very light and not particularly strong. It's probably more to do with display than its use in feeding. Beneath the green canopy, a small group of spider monkeys are feeding. They too feed on leaves, fruits and berries, and like the toucan, they supplement their diet with smaller animals. They rarely expose themselves above the canopy for fear of being attacked by hawks or eagles. Beneath them, a hummingbird seeks out flowers for their nectar. The bronze hermit builds its nest at the end of a leaf, where it's well camouflaged. Its beak is so long that it has to keep it upright as it incubates its 2 tiny eggs. Another hummingbird feeds on the sweet juices of the cecropia fruit. The rufous saber-wing feeds while it's still daylight. It's late afternoon, and the hummingbirds need to use every opportunity for feeding before night falls. Although many strange exotic creatures inhabit the rainforest, some are recognizable from less tropical climes, like the fox. The grey fox spends most of its time well off the ground, among the branches where it's an expert climber. It's an opportunistic feeder, hunting mice, squirrels, small birds and eggs. But it will also feed on fruit, which will still be there after nightfall. But other mammals are strange and unique to the rainforest. The coati is a small carnivorous mammal related to the raccoon. It has a flexible, sensitive snout and a keen sense of smell. These youngsters will soon be skilled in hunting food for themselves. At this time of day, the diurnal life is winding down, while the nocturnal species are preparing to begin their night shift. The bronze hermit returns to her nest for the last time. She's used every possible minute of daylight to fuel up for a night on her nest. As darkness falls, the sounds of the forest begin to change. The fading light presents new problems for filming as cameraman Dieter Plager wriggles into a hole at the base of a hollow tree. It's a tight squeeze, made more difficult by the fact that the tree is home to venomous scorpions, spiders, and snakes. But Dieter is looking for one particular type of animal that reigns supreme in the rainforest night shift. The tree is the daytime roost of several species of bat. Some are preparing to leave for the night, while others are still clinging to the inside of the trunk. In one corner, a vampire bat scuttles back into the darkness. Despite its reputation, it's almost completely harmless. Other bats huddle in small groups, while some prepare for their night flight. Outside, the evening chorus is well underway. Tree frogs, from as small as a broad bean to as big as an avocado, gather around the pools to spawn. It's now that the frogs are at their most vulnerable. Smiliska is a large species of tree frog. Crotopterus is a large predatory bat that will eat frogs, unless, like Smiliska, they have an evil-tasting mucus over their skin. The frog is dropped. Even the fish in the river aren't safe. The echolocation of the fish-eating bat is so well developed that it can detect an object as fine as a human hair protruding only a millimetre above the water's surface. Its sonic pulses have been slowed down 60 times so we can hear them. The bat homes in and, dragging its razor-sharp, flattened claws through the water, scoops up its prey before transferring its catch to its mouth. In the trees above, a helmeted lizard relies on camouflage for protection. Crotopterus, having recovered from its encounter with the tree frog, is still on the lookout for a meal. It uses a combination of sound and sight. Bats aren't nearly as blind as people think. The lizard is completely helpless and shrouded within the bat's 60-centimetre wingspan. Crotopterus is a formidable predator, taking rodents, insects, and often other bats. Not all bats are carnivorous. Many feed on berries and fruits and play an important role in the dispersal of seeds. Carolia is one such species of bat. This female has to continue to feed even though she's carrying her single offspring. It's no mean feat, as the pup may weigh almost half her own weight. The piper plant has fruits that grow vertically and seems to have evolved in this way specifically with bats in mind. At normal filming speed, it's almost impossible to see the bat in action. Only in slow motion can we see the bat fly in, take its time to select a ripe fruit, and then pull it from the branch. The fruits are packed with seeds, and the bat eats them before discarding the stem. The seeds pass through the bat's digestive system unharmed. Over 60,000 can be eaten by a bat in a single night. They'll soon be scattered throughout the forest. The cecropia tree has long, fleshy fruits packed with seeds that are eaten by birds during the day and several species of bat after dark. Bats normally defecate in flight and often in man-made forest clearings, so they play a very important role in helping to reforest those areas where man has been busy with his chainsaws. Throughout the forest, fruits are ripening year-round, and the bats know where and how to find them. Getting the fruits off the plant often requires some spectacular acrobatics. But while millions of years of coexistence has led many plants to evolve their fruits specifically to suit the bat's feeding abilities, other plants rely upon bats for the pollination of their flowers. Glossophaga is a nectar-feeding bat, the nocturnal equivalent of a hummingbird. It feeds on many flowers, but one plant in particular has cashed in on its nightly visitor. Hanging in front of its nectar-filled flower, there's a large hand-shaped projection that's laden with pollen. As the bat visits the flower, the pollen rubs off as the bat is patted on the back. The bat will visit several plants during the night and carry its precious cargo of pollen, fertilizing the flowers as it does so, ensuring the plant's survival and its own food source. Only bats are known to pollinate these particular flowers. In the meantime, the vampire bat has been hunting for its first meal of the night. This one species has been responsible for much of the general public's misconceptions about bats. It feeds exclusively on the blood of other mammals and birds. It's especially a problem on farms that border the rainforest, where cows and chickens are its main victims. The bat stealthily creeps along the branch where the chicken is sleeping. Heat detectors in its nose tell it where the blood vessels are closest to the surface. Licking softens the skin, and then the bat bites. It's only a small wound, but anticoagulants in the bat's saliva help the blood to flow freely as the bat drinks. Like all bats, vampire bats are scrupulously clean animals and spend a lot of time cleaning and grooming themselves, especially after a meal. It may even sleep under the branch as it digests the chicken's blood. By the time dawn arrives, the bats have returned to their favorite daytime roosts. The birds begin their chorus, while a coati rests in the fork of a tree. Another day dawns on the forest and its rich variety of inhabitants. Despite its appearance, the tropical rainforest is a very fragile ecosystem. The interactions between the animals and plants within it are highly complex and have evolved over millions of years. Here, there are no true seasons. It's wet and warm all year round. The real changes here are when dripping day turns to night. The day belongs to a myriad of forest creatures, but the night is for the bats. Nowhere else on Earth do they display such a variety of behavior, and their effect on the very existence of the rainforest is only now beginning to be fully realized.